back for the 16th episode of Streams. I'm Red Karan, your host of the greatest monologue on earth. I'm still struggling to get this show back on schedule, but nonetheless, I'm here doing it for the 16th week in a row. I'm proud of myself for the consistency. Today, we're going to talk about I had a much cooler title or phrase or whatever that I wanted to use, and I forgot it. But the essence of what I'm trying to capture in this particular episode is focus and appreciation. What inspired this particular monologue today is this particular stream today. So I had a client hit me up. He hit me up and said, yo, I'm trying to come knock out a couple songs, man. I just need a quick hour. And I was somewhere. I was busy. I was somewhere. And he hit me up like, I don't know, it had to be about 6, 7 o'clock or something like that. I don't know. He was like, man, can I come through and knock out a couple songs, man? I just need an hour, come in the studio, get an hour, and I'll be out your hair, basically. And I was just kind of like, I'm kind of far away from the house. And I was like, I don't really know if it's even worth me driving all the way back here for that. And like just for 1 hour, I make $50 an hour in the studio recording. And I was like, I don't know if that's like I don't even know if I feel like getting up for $50. And I kind of toyed with the idea. It's not like it's very dramatic. It wasn't a big deal. But I was just kind of like in a position where I was like, man, I feel like being lazy. I don't want to. And I toiled with the idea for a couple hours. I was like, man, I'll hit you back before you get off work. He told me he got off work at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And the fact that it's late kind of turned me off a little bit too. Cause I'm like, I don't really feel like being in the studio late today. I was chilling out, you know what I'm saying? I was comfortable. And I went to the bathroom around 9 o'clock. I was just standing there taking a leak. And I was just like, man, forget it. I'm going to just go. Because I remember times when, first of all, even in a studio setting, I remember times when I used to make way less an hour. But then I started thinking about like, there's people that make 15 an hour where they have to work, 3 and 4 hours at a time to make what I make in 1 hour. And then there was I even remember times when I didn't have anybody hitting me up asking me for time. Like, this is a person asking to come patronize my business and get some work done with me and to pay me. And they're asking, and I'm sitting here thinking about saying no. A few episodes ago, I made an episode about no days off and how that mentality is pretty dumb to me, right? People had that mentality where like, I ain't taking no days off. I'm taking everything. I'm working every day. I'm working. I'm sleeping. I'm dead, And I talked about how I disagree with that mentality, and that I think a big part of success and a big part of being a businessman and all of that is like resting and taking time to yourself and prioritizing your family and stuff like that, right? But there's another side to that. There's a side where you almost get too comfortable and you begin to not be hungry anymore. And you almost get lazy with the grind and you almost feel like, that ain't worth the money. I got money in my pocket. I don't need to go get that money. But that's a dangerous line to walk. And I've walked it, and I've walked it poorly. Because I've gotten into spots where I've been like, man, I'm not doing none of that. People hit me up trying to throw me a few dollars, whether it be $50, $100 for 2 hours or whatever it is. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. I'd rather lay in the bed, or sometimes it's for good reason. Like, I'd rather spend this time with my kids right now. And I don't ever feel bad for that. Sometimes I want to spend time with my lady, and I don't feel bad for that either. Or sometimes I got pre-existing plans or, family things or whatever it is, and I don't feel bad for those things. But I would be a lie if I didn't admit that there's been times where I was doing absolutely nothing. I was totally free in a position to work, and I've turned down a lot of work. Now, the seesaw of it all is the fact that, excuse me, I intentionally worked myself into this position to be able to do exactly that. I enjoy having the option of turning down work. That's a blessing in itself because a lot of people are not in a position to pick and choose anything, you know, where they live, what they eat, where they work, how much they work. If their boss tells them they have to work, they have to work. And they have to run the risk of losing their job should they object to that. I've been in that position before, but now I'm in a position where I get to choose when I work, who I work with, etc. And that was intentional. It was a blessing, partly bestowed onto me, but partly also something that I've earned. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous because there's no one telling you what to do and when to do it. I get to decide all of it. There's no one that I answer to other than my clients. There's no one saying, you better take that. You better do it. And that's why I kind of lean on friends sometimes and be like, man, should I do this, whatever? Kind of to keep me grounded and to give me perspective that I might not be able to have myself. Like, should I do this? Am I being ungrateful right now? Am I being unappreciative of my position? A lot of times my friends say nothing. I just use them as a means to bounce an idea off of them and to see how it feels saying it out loud. And that's what happened today. I was laying in bed with my girlfriend and I was like, I'm kind of torn because I want to go do this session, but I don't. I kind of want to just stay here and lay in this bed and like scroll on my phone. But I was like, I don't know if I'm being unappreciative. She didn't say anything. She just listened. And I was like, I'm being unappreciative. Because not only did the client that hit me up, I liked working with him too. I think he's a good friend of mine, but he's also an easy client, meaning he doesn't give me too much hassle. He's not annoying to work with. It wasn't like, it was no risk, is what I'm trying to say. And I still consider turning it down. And I think that's because I'm spoiled. I think that's because I'm spoiled. But I was like, at some point, I believe last year in 2022, I made a promise to myself that I would make more of an effort to work harder and be more sacrificial, I guess. Meaning, when I do have those downtimes when I'm like totally free and able to work, and I just want to say, forget it and lay down and stay comfortable, I told myself I'll start saying yes more. Not just for the money, but for the sake of creating my opportunity. One of the things that I learned was that sometimes when you accept, yeah, it's just an hour session, right? Sometimes when you accept that hour session, it creates the opportunity to make more than just $50. Yes, I charge $50 an hour. But they're coming to record a song. That song might need mixing, or just the fact that they're in your presence watching you work, it can create other opportunities. But if you say no and then you deny yourself the chance to be in the room with an artist or the chance to be creative, things like someone calling them while they're in here, seeing that they're in the studio and them asking, hey, what studio you at? It look cold in there. It looks sweet in there. I like their equipment. Or let me hear what you working on and be like, dang, that sounds sweet, bro. Give me your engineer number. That's happened before, And it's very minute, small things like that can happen. But the point is, they absolutely happen. And the more that you deny work, the lower the probability of something like that happening. Everything is an opportunity. It's all networking. And I have to keep that in mind. For instance, today, that 1 hour that I did with that client at 10:30, finished at 11:30. Today is Thursday, March 30th, and I started this recording at about 11:50 at night. So we just ended the session about 20, 30 minutes ago. Something like that. That 1 hour session from 9:30 to 10:30 to 11:30, we did 2 songs and we looked at the stems for a mix that he wanted to do, and that was it. Quick $50, not too labor intensive. It was very easy work. And he was out. He paid me and left. But he also added 2 songs that he wants to get mixed and was like, go ahead and add that to the mix list because I'm going to pay you for that mix too. Should I have told him no, like I don't want to do the session tonight, we wouldn't have recorded that song and he wouldn't have added it to the mix list, creating more money for me in the future. Now, there's a chance that he might have come recorded at a later date and still have gotten the mix, but there's also a chance that he could have just absolutely not ever recorded it because maybe me saying no, he would have lost the inspiration for the song. He could have lost the lyrics for the song or the flow of the song and was like, got discouraged because I've seen that happen. He could have went and recorded the song with another engineer. That happens too, right? But the fact that I said yes opened up more revenue, possibly, at a later date. And that's a reminder that I need to be more appreciative and more focused on the task or the goal of doing this work because it's not just the $50. The underlining thing of all of this, for me, is creating work, doing good work, so that I can be heard, seen, and sought after by other people. Every bit of work you do is an opportunity to network for more work. If I record a guy's song, you know he's going to let his homies hear it. You know he's going to let his coworkers hear it. You know he's going to let his girlfriend hear it. Now he might release it, let people hear it, and then they're riding around playing it. And artists might hear the song and be like, where homie record his vocals at? He sound clean. And now they, through 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 degrees of separation, they getting in touch with my artist, my client, and asking him, hey, bro, where you record this at? And he like, oh, I recorded with my man's Red. You should hit him up. And, now I've created a new client, a new stream of revenue, however you want to phrase that. And that's what I'm denying myself when I turn down work. Now, sometimes I just don't care because sometimes I value what I'm doing or what I need over any of that, any of this. The studio comes second to a lot of things. I love music. It is my bread and butter, but I value my family. I value myself, my sanity, my rest more than you and your song. That's not an insult. It's not to be disrespectful or funny. It's just true. So in some instances, I have no problem turning down work. But in other instances, I have to remind myself to be appreciative and to stay focused on the task so that I don't lose sight of why I'm doing this in the first place. I think um I think a lot of us are guilty of that. It takes many forms. A lot of people go to college, and while they're in college, they forget why they're in college. Whether it's partying, girls, or just the rat race of college itself. You'll go in planning to be, I don't know, you might be going for business, but because of prerequisites or peer pressure or keeping up with the Joneses or whatever it might be, you might change your major, you might slack off, you might totally lose focus of the whole reason you signed up to go to college. Getting a job. We should all go into all jobs that are not career oriented, knowing that it is temporary and that it's a means to an end. You should get a job with a purpose so that you can execute, use it as a stepping ladder, and move on to bigger, better, or different. But a lot of times, because we get into a job, we make commitments financially, and then we basically pigeonhole and lock ourselves into a job that we can no longer escape because we put too many irons on the fire. You know what I mean? It's too many commitments. So now you're trapped at this job. One example is car notes, mortgages, or going to rent a center and getting a 85-inch TV that you cannot afford. And then you lose focus of the whole purpose you went for that job in the first place because now it's only about running on this treadmill and keeping up. I've been doing this. I've been in this studio for almost 5 years now. And I would be a lie to say that I have not lost focus. Sometimes I look at this as just a hustle because that's the way that I might feel. I might be in that place mentally, like this is just a job to me. I just need a few extra dollars to feed my kids. Because sometimes survival mode takes over and you end up in this spot where you're scrambling, trying to figure out day to day, and everything else is unimportant at that point. Like, look, I got $20 to my name. If somebody hit me up for a session, I don't care who it is, I'm going to take this session and I'm going to do subpar work or I'm going to not care at all because I want this quick money so that I can feed my kids or eat or pay this bill. I've been in that position a lot of times. Not long ago. It's not so distant. You know, and that's fine. I'm human. I'm not rich. I'm pretty comfortable, I guess. Thank God and thank family and thank myself. But I've lost focus so many times trying to remember why I love doing this. Because another thing that came out of my mouth is plenty of times is like recording. If you've ever been an engineer, if you've ever worked in this setting, even if you're not an engineer, you probably have some sort of insight on how tedious work this can be. Recording an artist and like working on music that you might not particularly like or care for, it's like every song that comes through these doors and into this studio, this booth, uh, every song you're not going to be attached to. Every song is not going to mean something to you. Every song is not going to be good to you, right? So sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's like, I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to have somebody redo a verse 40 times. I don't want to do that today. And while that that is valid. That feeling is valid. Sometimes, though, it can come off as being a little unappreciative of the position that I have earned myself. Because this is what I asked for. If I've worked all these years, 2 decades to be exact, to make money from music and to be in a position to live my days doing music, that was what I dreamed about when I was a kid. I dreamt about that. Now I'm doing it, and sometimes I forget how badly I wanted it, and I'll be like, I can't stand doing this. I've done that a lot of times. But the thing is, like I said, the feeling is valid. So there is a balance. You have to find out, is the feeling something that I should ignore right now, or is this feeling valid? And should I honor myself by turning down the work? That is a part of being a boss in walking that line and finding it on your own. Because one of the cool things about being a coworker, an employee, not a coworker. One of the cool things about being an employee is that you have managers and you have team leads and you have, higher ups or whatever the term is that will direct your focus for you. It's mindless a lot of times. That's something that makes people comfortable because you don't have to go in and look at budgets and do spreadsheets and figure out what you're going to do as a company. You just go in and do what you're told. You go on autopilot the moment you walk through those doors because it kind of takes the mental work away from the job. But as a boss, as a business owner, as a person that works for themselves, you might not want to call that a boss. But, I think I'm a boss, but I don't have employees because my definition of what a boss is kind of means something different than maybe the literal definition. But nonetheless, I work for myself, right? I don't have anybody to direct my focus or to manage me or to keep me on a track. I have to do that for myself on my own. And that's something I never was familiar with or considered before working for myself. I don't regret it. I'm not saying it's totally hard, but I am saying it's just a layer to this that I just hadn't considered. It's pretty interesting. Like the way all of these moving pieces work together, working for yourself. I have to deal with everything. I have to restock things in here that needs to be restocked, whether it's hand sanitizer, tissue, lighters, cleaning products so I can clean my surfaces and all of that. Cups for clients. Whatever it is, smell good so the room doesn't smell like weed or Black and Miles every day, things like that. So I have to manage inventory. I have to budget my own finances because it's not like I'm budgeting a company's finances and then mine separately. It's all mine. So it's really just personal finance. I have to make sure I can afford gas to get around, to get here. I need to have enough money to be able to replace things if they break. If this TV goes out, I got to have money to go and get another one. If my microphone goes out or is damaged or something, I got to figure something out, which is why I do things like have multiple microphones. This is just a secondary, cheaper microphone. It's a pretty good microphone. But my workhorse is in the booth. The expensive microphone is behind me. I got keyboards, mouses, and all these things. If my keyboard goes out, I can't work. It's a very simple thing. My keyboard, keyboard ain't nothing but a few dollars. But if I don't have one, I cannot work. Not efficiently. If my mouse goes out, I can't work. I just faced that problem. My mouse went out for a minute. And I was like, I need to figure something out. I figured something out. I had an extra mouse laying around. I had to kind of like fix it up a little bit because I had some problems with it before, but this is all a rant. But it's important to mention these things because these are all very minute, small layers that people might not consider when it comes to working for yourself. There's nobody to fix the problems for you. When I used to work for a company, a piece of equipment would break. We go to management, tell them, piece of equipment broke. We need to figure something out. The manager goes, oh, shit. Then he gets on the phone and he talks to his superiors because they're the ones that move the money. Now they have to figure out how they're going to either repair this or replace this piece of equipment. Meanwhile, I'm on the floor twiddling my thumbs, waiting to be told what to do next. I don't have to do any of the mental lifting. You know what I mean? I don't have to problem solve. I mean, as all of employees that you work for a job, definitely you do a lot of problem solving because you're responsible for your work area and all of that stuff. But I'm saying the big problems that are like way above my pay grade, when you work for someone else, that stuff is gone. That's why it's easy and it's comfortable to work some jobs, not all jobs. But when you work for yourself, you're your own manager. You have to keep your focus where it's supposed to be. And that's something that it's ultimately discipline. That's the word. It's discipline. Being appreciative of your position, being disciplined enough to work when you don't want to, being disciplined enough to take care of your responsibilities as a business owner, cleaning up, maintaining your equipment, fixing something, replacing equipment. Because a lot of studios fail, man. You know that? Because a lot of people that worked in those studios are not disciplined. That goes for anything. Landscaping companies. There's a million landscaping companies. Why do you think some succeed where others don't? A lot of times it's because of discipline. A lot of times it's because of laziness. One person is willing to get up at 6 a.m., canvass the neighborhood and see who needs what, create opportunities for themselves, and then profit from that. But some people sit around and they wait for work to come to them. Some people fail to even show up to the race. If you're waking up at noon as a landscaper and then trying to canvass a neighborhood and pass out flyers or knock on doors and say, hey, do you need your snow shoveled? Do you need your grass cut? Do you need your hedges trimmed? Do you need whatever it might be? I seen you have a tree in the backyard that's overgrown. Do you need somebody to come and trim that down or cut it down? Creating opportunity for yourself. But a lot of people think the universe or life is supposed to hand things to you. I am guilty of the same thing. I'm an engineer. A lot of times I just sit around and I wait for people to call me. And I still do that because that's the position I work myself into. But another thing that I had to tell myself is that, bro, yes, you've worked yourself in a position where people seek you for work, people revere your work, people like working with you. You have a nice clientele list. But even still, you're supposed to be trying to create more opportunity for yourself. Put yourself out there. Look for people that need you. Because a lot of time artists do not know what they need or that you are even available to them. So I'll have to hit somebody up and say, hey, bro, if you need mixing, hit me up. It almost seems unnecessary to say that because they know that you do it. But sometimes just saying that will be like, oh, yeah, I could hit him up when I need, because a lot of times we just don't think about making those connections or making those movements. So you're an engineer hitting an artist up saying, bro, if you need recording, you know where I'm at. And be like, no, okay, bro, I'll check you out. And I made money just off doing that. It's not hard. But sometimes as the person on the other side, as the business owner, You have to realize sometimes the clients need a nudge to come in and do what maybe they didn't even think to do. Just this couple days ago, I have an artist, a client that does poetry. He raps, but he does poetry mainly. That's his create his what you call it, creative application of choice. Like that's his favorite medium of creativity, poetry. Um, he was in here working on an album, like a rap album, but one of the interludes or the skits on his album was a poem. So we recorded that poem. It took us nothing but 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And when we finished, it was real quick, real easy work. He's just reading a short poem. It's only like 2 minutes long, a minute long, minute and a half long, whatever it was. We did it a couple times until he got it right. And then we edited it, mixed the vocals to make them sound clear and crisp. I added a few effects to make it interesting. And then we finished the session, we left. And I was listening to it, and then I hit him up when he was gone, like, bro, you have a voice for doing poetry. I'm like, you have a poetry book. Why you ain't never done like an audio version of your poetry book, like an audio book? And he was like, I did have the idea, I just haven't done it yet. And I'm like, bro, we should do that. I would love to be a part of that. And he was like, bet. And I was like, man, we should meet. Let's have a meeting, sit down, just have a quick conversation about what can be done, how you would like to do it, what you want to do in general. And he was like, bet. Name, what day you free? I was like, I'm free this day, blah, blah. We ended up rescheduling a couple times, but he came a couple days ago. And we talked for like an hour. It was a great conversation. I played him some of my stuff to show him what I was capable of as far as sound design and sound effects. I played him some of my music. I talked to him just to show him where my mind was creatively and what I could do for his work. And he was like, yeah, man, I like that. That sounds good. I gave him a price. I quoted him. I sent him an estimate. That way we could have it in writing. And he was like, bet. Let's start on April 9th. And I'm like, cool. But had I kept my mouth closed, that opportunity might not, most likely would not have happened for me that way. Closed mouths don't get fed. You know what I mean? You have to create opportunity. Even if you're a drug dealer, drugs sell themselves, but what you gonna do? Cop a brick and then sit in your house in your drawers and wait for somebody to like, hey, bro, you know anybody selling a brick? Like, even that, you gotta find a way to get rid of your drugs. You know what I mean? That's only natural, bro. Nobody's gonna, there is a saying, if you build it, they will come. But even that is in reference to something that can be seen. If you build a brick and mortar, if you build something and people know it's there, they're going to patronize it. I built this. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I would have this many people hitting me up to work with me. But I do. I built it, quote unquote, and they're coming. I'm still surprised 5 years later that people are coming here to do their music. Not for any particular reason, but it's just mind-boggling that people continue to choose me. That's all I'm saying. But even still, it is my responsibility as the one running this business, the one monetizing this business, to go out and find a way to take it to the next step. Find more clients, encourage word of mouth, encourage new customers by incentivizing them with, discounts or free studio time or whatever you could think of. You got to get creative sometimes too, but that's the business owner's responsibility. You have to maintain all of these things. You have to find new ways to stay relevant. I can only imagine being a business owner with the last half decade. I can only imagine how hard it is to run a brick and mortar doing something like a tea shop, or you sell, it's a little clothing boutique, or you sell whatever, a car wash, a grocery store, a health food store, whatever it is that you do as a independent entrepreneur. I can only imagine how hard that is. I'm an engineer. This is hard. This, like, keeping this afloat, it's hard work. The work isn't hard, but maintaining this business on my own is hard. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be doing something so niche and so marginalized like a tea shop. Yes, tea is ancient. People have been drinking tea for thousands of years, right? But just think about that. In a city like this, where I live in Detroit, there's not millions of people just looking for places to go get half tea. Like, that's a thing that's kind of like niche. You know what I mean? As commonplace as tea is, when I go to tea shops, the few times that I've been in my life, there's not like people just spilling out the door. So think about what Starbucks might have had to do to be what they have become. I don't know what they did. It probably took a lot of money, advertisement, creativity, eye drawing tactics like their logo, their colors, their store design, whatever it takes to get someone in the door. I have so much newfound respect for anyone who is successful in entrepreneurship. This is hard, man. Currently, I'm working on improving this space so that it's a little more comfortable, a little more enticing, and a little more functional as a studio, because I have to keep reminding myself I'm no longer in the survival mode that I was in when I first started this studio. Now I can kind of kick my feet, kick back, kick my feet up, and like really get in my bag with this space. I can build things out, improve on certain things, whatever. I have to remind myself that it's like a positivity mindset you have to have. Remember, you can always improve. It's a mental space you have to be in to remind yourself of that fact, though. Like, I can do better things. I'm worthy of like investing in. I'm worthy of investing in myself. I'm worthy of my business is worthy of expanding and investing in it. You know, if you're a business owner watching this, I know you understand what I'm saying. Because a lot of times you just kind of like start the business and then you just go on autopilot and you just coast and you kind of just expect things to come to you. But eventually you learn, like, no, I started it. And that was like a Hail Mary thing. Like, you're using your last dollars and it's like super hard work to get it started. And then you get to this place where it started, you finally are here, you've arrived, and you almost forget to keep working. You get comfortable or you get tired and you get to this place where you're like, okay, I did it. All right, I can exhale now. Whew. Now let them come. No, realistically, honestly, you never get comfortable. You can't. You're supposed to start the business and then grind even harder to make the business better and better and more appealing and advertisements and whatever. But that requires focus and appreciation. You have to realize what you have is good. You have to realize what you have is worth it. You know, but sometimes we get discouraged and we're like, man, it's not working. I give up. Or this is good enough. I don't need to put any more effort into this. But you're tricking yourself. When I first started, I was making $30 an hour. And I was excited to make that 30. You understand what I'm saying? Excited. Like, hell yeah, I'm taking every session. I was working with people I couldn't stand working with. I was working with people who was disrespectful. I don't have to do that as much anymore. But now I'm making more money, easier money, you know, especially because I'm better at my job. So the work isn't as hard as it used to be simply because my skill level has risen. But now I have to remind myself to be appreciative of every dollar, not just the $100 bill. You have to be appreciative of every dollar. That don't mean all money is good money. You don't take every dollar that comes through the door. But what I'm saying is the good money, don't turn your nose up at it because it ain't what you want it to be. Like, I ain't coming out the house for that little $50. I'm about to stay in bed. Sometimes that $50 is much more important than it seems. I ain't got to keep repeating myself. I'm done. If you made it to this point in the episode, I appreciate you, first of all. But do me a favor and in the comments, just type the word appreciate. Appreciate. Just to let me know that you made it to this point and that you're listening. For everybody that's patronizing my show, subscribing to my channel, I'm still growing, man. I can't believe it. I'm still growing. I just gained like 11 subs, 12 subs like 2 days ago or yesterday or whenever that was. Like, easy. I just gained it. That was yesterday morning, you know, and I'm very appreciative of the growth. So my YouTube grew from 7 subscribers to 86 subscribers in 16 weeks. Still growing. It ain't a million subscribers, but trust me, I am appreciative of every single last one of those. Thank you for the views, the comments, the thumbs up, the encouragement, all of it. I'm Red Karan. This is Streams. Holla at me next week.